Welcome back, everybody, to the Enemy's Perspective, a UteNation podcast, where today we're discussing the Holy War. Number 23, Utah Utes at number 15, BYU. Joining us today is Brian Logan, BYU TV sports analyst and former defensive back for BYU. I'm your host, Matt Stanley. Brian, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
No problem, man. Happy to contribute to the butt whooping that's going to occur on Saturday in Provo.
All right. Well, hey, it's a pleasure to have you. First things first, you have a very unique perspective, having been a player in the Holy War previously in 2009 and 2010. So if you don't mind, take a couple minutes to talk with us about what it's like to play in this rivalry.
Yeah. 2009. So I came from a junior college, right? And so my junior year was my first year at BYU, and then which is 2009. So I didn't really care about the rivalry, to be honest with you, like at all, like zero. Like when I say zero, like I literally didn't care at all. I knew I couldn't wear red. I knew like we hated Utah, they hated us. But to me, growing up in sports, it was just another rivalry, right? But when I got off, when we left the hotel to get to the stadium, there was tailgating, which I was super surprised by because BYU fans, we don't, and the game was at home in Provo, so there was no tailgating, and I was like, what? I was like, what's going on over there? And they were giving us the number one finger sign, and on our way, when we were driving to the stadium, and I was like, oh, it's like that. Okay. This is what everybody's been saying. And so I think at that moment I kind of turned up my intensity. And I just remember so many personal foul penalties. I remember, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me in 2009, obviously the win in overtime, right? But Harvey Unga, he was the running back, who's the running back coach now.
Yeah.
And he scored our first touchdown, and he threw the ball at the Utah defender. And I've never seen him so mad in my life because Harvey's the most nice, sweetest guy. Even though he's intense, he's physical, and he works hard and he loves the game. Off the field, he's a really nice dude. And to see him act that way, my intensity went up a whole nother notch. And so I think that's when I really found myself really immersed in this and really told myself, like, this is a lot bigger than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I was cramping, I think third quarter, and had trainers come out and give me pickle juice, and the crowd was yelling, Logan. And that kind of hyped me up a little bit more. And then obviously the last play of the overtime when Andrew George scores that touchdown. And I remember one of my good friends to this day, Corby Eason, who played corner with me. We were on the sideline, and he was like, B, remember, don't run out. If we score, don't run out because the pile and fans are gonna, storm the field. And I was like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So Andrew George scores, and I completely forgot what we talked about, and I ran over to the pile and I jumped on it. And I feared for my life for a little bit. Like, I was thankfully I got out, and I kind of just like curled up in the ball. And I remember the fans came and they crowd surfed me to the locker room. That's how packed it was.
Oh wow, that's a big crowd surf.
Yeah, it was. I got pictures. I'll shoot you some pictures. So when you guys edit it, you could.
Yeah. Send me some pictures.
And halfway through the crowd surf, I was like, wait, my helmet. So we stopped. And then they got my helmet. They crowd surfed my helmet. And then I ended up making it to the locker room. And so, man, that's something that I'll remember for forever. And then, 2010, playing at Utah. That whole year was weird for us. We ended up finishing 7-6. We started 1-4. Defensive coordinator got fired. And there's some controversy with some calls with the refs. But
always is.
Yeah. I remember I spoke at the fireside, which is interesting for me, being Black and not LDS. So I spoke that Friday on the fireside, but that game is kind of a memory that isn't so good. So you kind of like tuck that away.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the intensity of it. Everything building up to the week. I think it's the number one event in the state.
Yeah, absolutely is. Now take us back. Like you being a player for BYU, you already talked about it. You're not LDS, and it was kind of a culture shock for you. Sounds like, speaking at that fireside. What was it about BYU that made you decide to go play football there?
Yeah, I wouldn't say coming here was a culture shock. Them asking me to speak as a non-member was shocking.
Yeah.
The main reason why, so after my freshman year of junior college, I had committed to San Diego State. So my whole sophomore year, I was committed. Turned down a couple of offers. I had offers to Houston and Boise State, and like a plethora of D2 schools. The head coach gets fired, and Brady Hoke takes over the program for San Diego State. There's 8 players that had committed under the old staff, and I was the only player that they didn't honor the scholarship. So BYU ends up finding out and then called, like the same day that I was told that they weren't going to honor my scholarship was like an hour later, BYU called me and said, hey, we heard about San Diego State and we want to start the recruiting process. And the fact that they were in the same conference when we were in the Mountain West, I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about the honor code. I had so much revenge in my heart. I was like, you guys play San Diego State this year and next year? Oh yeah, I'm there. Whatever I got to do to make it happen, I'll make it happen. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up being committed. And then one of the other coaches that was originally on the San Diego staff that I committed to had went over to Utah State. And Gary Anderson, that was his first year. So they offered me as well. So I ended up, after that situation, I ended up having 2 offers, which was BYU, Utah State, which was a easy decision.
Okay.
No disrespect to Utah State, but at that time, I think they had won like 3 games in like 2 years. So, and BYU was ranked top 15 the last 3-4 years. So, yeah.
So, all right, you ended up at BYU. And obviously it was a good experience since you're still associated with BYU. What was your overall experience like being a BYU football player for those 2 years outside of just the Holy War?
Man, it was best time outside of having my kids. That's the best moments of my life. It's interesting because a lot of players that are double minorities, which I'll give credit to Ben Criddle, who created that term. So being in Utah and being Black, obviously you are a minority. And then being non-LDS in Utah, you're a minority. So I fit both of those molds. And so he said, you're a double minority. So a lot of double minorities, they struggle a lot just because of the culture shock, like you alluded to earlier. With me, it was different. I took the approach of more embracing it. I think obviously being a starter helped out.
Yeah.
I thought it was easy. Like, you're not really held to the same standards. And I don't mean that in like a weird or negative way. It's just more from a community and society standpoint. A lot of my teammates that weren't from Utah, that were LDS, they struggled a lot. Just the pressure of being here. And they were like, man, just like being from Cali or being from Texas, like members of the church, they're not like this. They don't really expect me to be perfect or to live a certain way. And so naturally a lot of those players gravitated towards me. And I think that also helped me out as well, because I mean, coming to a whole new school, a whole new culture, like a whole new religion is on paper, it's hard, but I just had a lot of those type of players gravitate towards me. My mom always came out, and whenever there was Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter, she would come, and a lot of those players would come over and she'd cook for them. So I gelled really fast. Initially, I felt that everybody was fake.
Yeah.
because everybody was so nice. But then I was like, okay, it's kind of genuine. Then after playing, I was like, they were just trying to baptize me. but
Maybe
I mean,
not all.
it's right, and but no, I mean, like I think I was really blessed and fortunate enough to have the experience that I did compared to other teammates, and I just naturally became an advocate of the school. And it's funny because a couple of my pastors back home, once they found out about the honor code, they were trying to send their kids that play sports. So we're really aligned with a lot of the values and the morals that how I was raised. I was raised in church my whole life, so I had a great experience.
So hey, thank you so much for sharing that. Good stories. Before we go on with the matchup, you talked a little bit about Utah tailgate. I just want to say right now, cordially, you are invited to a Utah tailgate. If you can ever make that work, you let me know. We'll bring you in. We'll share whatever kindness we can give you.
I would love to do that, but I'm like being an employee of BYUtv. I'm still under the honor code, so
yeah.
That's too much temptation for me.
Hey, I will have a Coke Zero for you. All right, we will make this work. All right. We'll have a good time. Good. All right, but so coming into this season, BYU had some high expectations and then lost the starting quarterback, and now you find yourself with a true freshman. How did that news of now we have a true freshman quarterback change the expectations from BYU? But then also, how is that first 6 games and how Bear Bachmeier has performed? How has that changed your expectations? 2 kind of jumps in expectations right there.
I'm smiling because have you seen The Waterboy? The movie The Waterboy?
It's been a while, but I've seen it.
So do you remember that guy that goes like, "You can do it," right? And
then
remember when they're at the rally for the bowl game, like championship, and then the other team comes up, they find out that he's ineligible, and then he goes, "Oh, we suck again." That's how I felt. I was like,
okay.
"Oh, we suck again." Like, damn, gosh, like we can't catch a break. And at that moment, I was just like, "Okay, fellas, like let's just make a bowl game. Like it's okay, it's fine. Like we can." Looking at the schedule, I was like, "It's gonna be tough, but like we can get 6 wins out of this." Like,
you've made the bowl game.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And then when the season started, leading up to this very moment, my expectations has totally changed. Now I'm like, man, let's lock in. Like, let's focus. Let's get dedicated. Let's turn up the intensity a lot more. Let's get right with our body and our health, and let's go compete for a conference championship game. And when you think about the team that we had last year, yeah, we lost some important pieces, but we also gained some important pieces. And I would argue that some of those important pieces are better than the ones that we had last year. The main piece, though, which makes the entire team run, I mean, quarterback is literally the face of the team on every single level. And it's very vital, piece to any team, which is why when you look at the NFL, they get paid the most money. So the fact that we're at this point right now with a true freshman, I mean, it's hard to even consider him a true freshman anymore. Like that's not. It's hard to associate Bear with a true freshman. It's just he's the starting quarterback at BYU, and so that's where my expectations are. I think a lot of fans as well, and that's the thing with expectations. Expectations are relevant to your situation, right? My oldest son, who's 14, he's straight A student. When he has a D in his class, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? what's going on? Now, if it was the other way around and he was a C student and then he got an A, I'd be shocked. I think that shocking stage has way surpassed us as fans, right? We're like, okay, we're done being shocked. Like the expectation now is for you to get straight A's moving forward. And I think that's where we are as fans. Like we expect to compete for a conference championship.
So you're expecting a lot out of Bear Bachmeier.
100%.
And he has done very well so far. He's led you to a top 15 team, at least till Sunday, right?
That's a good one.
But I'd say you have to credit not just Bear, but how the coaching staff has handled a true freshman quarterback. He hasn't been put in a lot of highly compromising positions. And I think that's helped boost his confidence. And he does look confident on that field. So with that being said, how do you expect their offensive staff, they're out there game planning all week, right? How do you expect them to attack Utah come Saturday?
Yeah, that's a good question. In the past, Utah has had the athletes when it comes to one-on-one matchups and the skill positions, like the edge has gone to Utah. That's strictly because of, I'm not trying to downplay the recruiting, but what kid would not want to go to a Power 5 conference, a legacy Power 5 conference with a few blue bloods and historic schools in stadiums that you'll be playing at versus BYU that's an independent, right?
Yeah.
You look at draft picks and potentials to get there. Utah clearly had the edge, and the game plan kind of showed you just that, right? Let's man up our DBs and our corners on their receivers because our athletes are better, and let's load up the box and see if you can run on us and out physical us, because you can't win these one-on-one matchups on the corners or on the edges. Now in the last couple of years, it's different. Recruiting wise and athlete wise and skill level, we're able to compete. And I think in the past, these last couple of games that we've won, we'll go toe to toe with you guys. We don't care. It's different now though, because you have a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of weeks, we've saw the playbook expand. And so we're starting to see the trust between A-Rod and Bear. However, again, that's where I'm not nervous or concerned, but I really don't know. I think this last game really showed us that, when things weren't working the way that the offense wanted to, at the end of the day, A-Rod was like, this is the best player that we have right now that I can rely on. And so if he's a true freshman or not, we have to win this game. And so I do think you saw a lot more trust in a vital situation where A-Rod was like, we got to do what we got to do. We got to do it. At this point, we're down 10 with 4 minutes left. We got to figure out a way to win. So I don't think that A-Rod would, put the offense and the team in a situation where he wouldn't let it lay it out on the line.
Okay.
So, I do think we'll try to establish the run. So with that being said, I think we'll try to establish the run like we did with Arizona. And if they do decide to load the box and just say, beat us one-on-one, I think what Bear showed last week, A-Rod would be comfortable enough to say, okay, let's chuck it, let's throw it.
Do it. Okay, so with that being said, I think it's fair to say, I think we both agree that Utah's going to be the best defense that Bear has gone up against so far this year. So if Utah does load up that box, how do you expect Bear to react? I know you said he's more confident. There's that trust. How do you expect him specifically to react in this game?
Yeah, I think that's. I don't want to say it's in our favor. I don't think anytime you load up the box, you clearly have more numbers. The difference with Bear and even with you guys and your quarterback is that they're mobile. They can run. With Bear, he reminds me so much of Tim Tebow. I'm a huge Tim Tebow fan. Okay. I got NFL Sunday ticket just to watch Tim Tebow. That's how much of a fan. And he just reminds me so much of him, where big body, big build. He could take these hits and still get up to play another down. And he's always falling forward. So yards after contact. If you go back and watch these games, especially Arizona, there's 3, 4 guys that have to take him down, right? That's how big he is. And so when you have a mobile quarterback that has the ability to run and you load the box, you kind of even things out. a quarterback that can't run and hands the ball off, you're automatically eliminating a player, within that front. And so having a running quarterback, especially a physical one, it evens that out. So again, I'm not trying to say that favor goes to BYU, but it gives BYU a chance. And I think the last two drives that you saw against Arizona, I mean, Bear wasn't phased. He's not phased with anything, the maturity level that he has, how even keeled he is. He reminds me of a corner, a corner that can go and give up 2 touchdowns and then come back and get 2 interceptions and a pick 6. So I don't think that will phase him. I think it may actually work in BYU's favor.
All right, so sounds like you're expecting some QB runs, not necessarily design QB runs, but I think both Utah and BYU are in the situation where our quarterbacks make quick decisions, and sometimes that decision is we gotta go. So now we talked a little about offense. Bear, how do you expect BYU's coaching to be defensively planning? What's the defensive plan to attack Utah?
Yeah, I think if you look this over the last year, and even I think Colorado was probably like SMU, Colorado, especially this year. Colorado are good examples of running quarterbacks. SMU or Colorado came out and did something that BYU wasn't prepared and scored 14 quick points. And Coach Hill is, man, I can't even, words can't even describe how I feel about Coach Hill and his strategy and how he gets the guys playing, but immediately nipped it in the bud and has a really good strategy and game plan when it comes to his 2 outside backers and Isaiah Glasgow and Jack Kelly. So I think a lot of it depends on Jack Kelly and how healthy he is. From what I've heard is he'll be fine, ready to go. Yeah. And so you have these 2 spies with guys that are freakishly like athletic, that are NFL guys, that can play in coverage, and then when the quarterback does roll out, can trigger and close that space in that gap because they're just as fast as that mobile quarterback. So I think that's going to be the game plan. Is let's load up the box. Going back to what I said when it comes to recruits and the talent that we have, our corners can match up man, so we can afford to load the box. And then we also have 2 NFL type of linebackers that are long, that are fast, that are physical, that are big, and that are strong, that can, make those tackles one-on-one.
So you talked a little bit about spy. That's something you expect BYU to do, is spy Devin Dampier.
100%. Same game. Look, I'm not saying nothing new, right? I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. This is, you can go back and watch the film. BYU did it against SMU last year, who was a playoff team. They've done it against a lot of mobile quarterbacks. The defense against Colorado initially wasn't the strategy or the plays that were called. But as soon as they were called, they scored only 7 points for the rest of the game. So same type of strategy.
Okay, so you talked about Jack Kelly a little bit. Sounds like he'll be good to go. He wasn't on the injury report that I saw tonight, but looks like you're probably going to be missing Raider Demooney. Yeah. Who do you think depth-wise is going to step up in that position and make that impact that Demooney makes?
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at the depth chart or the report. I think maybe Tommy Prassis, if he's able to. I think if we get him back, he'll probably play. He's played a lot of nickel this year. And then he got hurt. And then when he got hurt, our starting nickel came back for the Arizona game. So Tommy's healthy. I mean, he'll be back to his natural position. And you got to think about it, like a safety playing nickel says, like the capability for a safety to play nickel says a lot about your athleticism. He had a couple picks last year. He had a good fumble return for a touchdown against Kansas State in that pretty crazy wild win for us in Provo last year. So it's he's an athletic kid, has a lot of experience. But BYU does a good job of rotating guys, and also Coach Hill. Like last week, you saw Raider go out. You saw a couple of guys on our defensive line go out. Like that was a really banged up defense. But what BYU has done in the most recent past, which I to be honest with you, I absolutely hated it. They would rotate guys to get younger guys experience. And I like as a former player, I'm like, man, like I don't really get locked into the game and really get game mode and focus until the middle or to the end of the first quarter because watching film, yeah, I can understand tendencies and I could anticipate certain play calls, but I can't really tell how fast the guy is, right? I can't really tell how big or how tall or how strong he is.
So you
And
got
after
Jason
those couple,
Brown.
right, exactly. And after those couple of series, I can start to pick up on individual one-on-one tendencies. Like, okay, whenever this receiver is going to break down and do an out route, his left hip is going to drop first, or whatever the case is. And so I always just thought that it was messing up the players getting really into that groove. But it's turned out that strategy has worked out a lot because when somebody has gotten down in the past, there's enough experience. And I'm not talking about garbage time either. You know, I'm talking about second string guys rotating in for a couple plays, you know, based off of how long a drive is and going against the opponent's, you know, first stringers. So I've been really surprised with the depth that on the defensive side that BYU has created, and it's been in a very strategic way. But also, you know, I think like a lot of fans were kind of like dumbfounded because they were like, last year against Nova Fida, like we put pressure on him, he couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything.
You did,
This year, why hasn't that been the case? So I think you start to see when we don't have our starters and when we are limited when it comes to that depth, there are certain play calls to protect those individuals and those guys. So it'll be interesting to see. I think at the end of the day, Coach Hill puts those guys in positions to be successful, and also protect the defense and more importantly, you know, protect the outcome of the game.
So you clearly have a very good eye for analytics, right? The way you talk about, you know, the hip drop and stuff like that. You have a very good eye for the opposing team. So with that being said, pretend that you are a coach right now. You're on BYU staff. With what you've seen, what you know about Utah, what position group is keeping you up at night right now?
Probably shoot, that's a good question. I want to give you two that are on the same level. Obviously, the quarterback and then offensive line. You know, I know you guys have a couple of NFL guys, and you know when you look at the amount of times that you guys have been sacked, you know, top in the nation, and what that tells me is that quick decision making, getting the ball out fast, or a very elusive quarterback, right? And it keeps me up because the first thing I want to do is, okay, this son of a gun can run. Let's put pressure on him. But then when that happens, I'm also putting my secondary in a position to, I don't want to say leave them out to dry, but I'm removing, you know, I'm taking away more help for them so that they're going to be on islands. But because I'm not really I'm not worried about the receivers like I have been in the past.
Yeah.
I would be okay to take that risk, right? I would let the game shake out and see like how are our one-on-one matchups, you know, doing on the edge, and I think that would completely change how I bring pressure or having to drop back, you know, and then obviously that then is going to determine how my offense is, like how my offense plays is going to determine the play calls I have, right? You know, our offense last week completely changed when we were down 10 points with 4 or 5 minutes left. It just did, you know, and that's where a lot of the top defenses in the nation, and like with BYU, Utah, that are really good is because time of possession. Like you guys are up there in time of possession. I think we're 8th in the nation in time of possession. So not only are we eating clock, but we're scoring as well. And so it causes these offenses to play from behind. And an offense that is losing and is playing from behind is completely different play calls, right? I got to throw the ball more. I'm kind of in hurry up mode. And there's so many different type of factors. And so I think BYU in the last couple of years especially has really complemented each other, A-Rod and Coach Hill. And, yeah, like my offense and how they're doing is really going to dictate. So if I know that if the offense is struggling, I'm probably as a defense coordinator not going to put my defense in a position where we give up a big play. So I'm probably not going to call more pressures, right? I'm probably going to take it easy and not be as aggressive. So I know that answer was all over the place, but that gives you a little bit of time.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. That was all over the place. You talked a little bit about your wide receivers having some worries about their previously, maybe not as much this year. You have Chase Roberts. We know about Chase Roberts, the yards after catch king, right? Let's say Chase Roberts is locked down. Who are the guys? Who's the next guy? Who else is going to make an impact in this game in your wide receiver group?
I would actually switch it and say Parker. Like if Parker Kingston is he's the go-to guy right now. I got to put an asterisk by that because Chase has gotten so much attention. I mean, think about what you just said 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
You came out with Chase. So that's what these defenses and defensive coordinators are keying in on. And so when you have a guy like that where you have to alert, like where's number two at? He's over here, he's over there. And you start to have, certain pass coverages that are game plan around him that frees up other one-on-one matchups.
Yeah.
Because essentially you're kind of bracketing, right? You're having a corner, then you're having a safety over top. Well, if you do that, everybody else is going to be man to man. And so with Parker, he's proven these last 2 weeks going over 100 yards receiving back to back. And scoring touchdowns, you can't really beat him you can't cover him one-on-one. And what's starting to happen is because he's having these long explosive plays, and he's like dusting. He's like absolutely dusting these DBs.
He's fast.
And look, I said this to the guys in the green room last week. I was like, look, I'm telling you the reason why I'm not taking anything from Parker. Like, he's super fast. Top track athlete in the state when he was in high school. And I'm like, I'm telling you it's because he's white. As a black DB, I'm not thinking he's about to be that fast. You know what I'm saying?
You don't expect it from him.
I was like, the same thing happened with Taysom Hill. And you could tell how you can tell that's the case is because these safeties and corners, they have these angles on them, and he beats it by like 5 yards, which is that's a lot when you have the angle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's because he's white. They don't expect it at all. That's a little side note. But But what happens is when he makes those big explosive plays early in the game, now as a corner, I'm not as aggressive, right? Because I'm sitting there thinking I'm not about to get beat. I'm not about to get dusted by this white boy. Hell no, not me. I'm gonna be a little bit more soft in my coverage, and that's what you saw against Arizona last week on that 4th and 7. That corner on a 4th and 7 had like a 6-yard cushion. And I was like, that's a corner that's scared. There's no on 4th and 7. I'm putting my heels at 8, and I'm probably not backing up at all. I may shuffle a little bit because I'm playing the sticks. But in his mind, he's thinking this dude just caught a 70-yard touchdown and beat the safety that had an angle on him. Like, this dude, I got to respect his speed. And so he's starting to really emerge. I think Cody Hagan as well. He's another guy that's a track guy.
Cody Hagan. All right.
Young guy, but he's getting a lot more experience as well. So I would say those are probably your three guys, and then our tight end, which is your tight end. I mean, it's kind of like your ex-girlfriend. Kind of,
yeah.
It's kind of like, we got her. You guys messed up.
That's not in a bad way. We wish Carson Ryan the best.
Right.
Except for Saturday.
Right. So, and yeah, I think he's kind of had his production dropped off. I don't mean that in a weird or negative way, but I think just based off of the last 2 weeks and how scenarios played out, especially this last week, like trying to play from behind and having a lot more run calls for Bear towards the end. He probably just had less opportunities, less targets. So, but he's solid, man. I've been really impressed with him. Like, every time he makes a play and his yards after catch is crazy, I just thank you guys. I'm like, I never thank Utah for anything, but thank you guys for
Hey, you're welcome. Yeah, but with Carson Ryan, one thing people talk about tight ends, they always talk about catches, but the most overlooked aspect in all of football, in my opinion, is the offensive line and blocking. And a tight end is a part of that offensive line more times than they're not, right? And Carson Ryan does have that blocking ability. So hey, we got to wrap it up here soon in a bit, but real quick. You're as cool as BYU gets, so tell people a little bit more about where they can find you, your social media, what you do, and all that.
Yeah, shoot, I don't even know my social media. I'm on it, but I'm not on it, if that makes sense. But I think Twitter, I'm like Brian Logan 7, I think. You guys can find me there. BYUtv pregame and postgame shows. I'm on a couple of different shows. We have our Tuesday show, that's AFR, we break down X's and O's, and then occasionally I'm on our daily show, which is BYU Sports Nation. So you guys can find that on the app. We do a really good job of since we got into the Big 12, really good job of showcasing our opponents in a way that's off the field. So I think, for Utah fans, you guys would probably be really interested and intrigued. We talked earlier about trying to get Zach Moss on, which I'm gonna hit up my producer after this. We try to be extremely unbiased. Unfortunately, this week I'm not gonna be unbiased at all, but we will have a lot of coverage of Utah. So you guys want to check that out? You guys can. And then anybody that wants to talk football with me, I'm pretty flexible. You guys can hit me up. I'm a chill dude. I don't like Utah though, but I'm a chill dude.
All the same, we look forward to having you at the tailgate here, in the near future.
I'm gonna take that up with you, man. Because Will Snowden was a really good mentor of mine when I first got here. He's a double minority as well. And man, I remember Smith Snowden was one of the baddest kids in the church because we went to a Christian church. And he'd be running up and down the aisles like little kid with this brown curly hair, and I was like, this dude, this is the cutest kid, but he's so bad, making so much noise while the pastor is talking. And so I was able to be a part of his family and watch him grow up and watch him play high school ball. And man, I'm super proud of him. And so maybe next bye week, if you guys are home, I would definitely hit you guys up and take you on that.
I'll compare the schedules right after this.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, I'm with it, man.
So you already said having a hard time being biased this week, but the spread right now is sitting around -3, -3.5 in favor of Utah. With that being said, do you have a score prediction or at least a spread bet you'd like to share with us or you can't share with us?
Whoever's going to win, man, is going to win by 3 points. I'd say that.
3 points. All right.
I'd say 3.
That's
3 points. And I've been telling, I've been walking around seeing fans in the community, and I'm like, dude, I have no idea. Because it's just how the game goes, crazy things happen all the time. I've been a part of one specific. I've been part 2, actually, where I won one on the last play and I lost one. Think about that. I won one on the last play and then I lost one on the last play. Yep. On the last play, right? Both years. So, man, who knows? Obviously, I think turnovers it's going to play a huge role, but I would say whoever wins is going to win by 3.
Are you worried about turnovers at all? Do you think BYU's, maybe going to end up in those positions?
I am worried because the last couple of games with Bear, even though he's done a really good job, a lot of those has been on him. With Utah, Utah actually forces turnovers. That's why I'm scared, right? Okay. There's a difference between a quarterback giving you an early Christmas gift versus an athlete making a play, and that's what concerns me, is that regardless of Bear not giving early Christmas presents, Utah still has the athletes to go and actually truly force those turnovers.
Brian, it's been great. Thank you so much for taking the time. You've been a great guest. Loved having you. Thank you so much.
Same here, man. Hit me up anytime you guys need me, man. Happy to join on. And last but not least, go Cougs. Don't edit this out either. Go
All right. Well, go Utes. And for all the listeners, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more UteNation coverage and podcasts.